Welcome back, everyone. We are now going to start the second session, panel session 1, housing. I would like to give the floor to the moderator of this session, Eriko Ishikawa. Eriko?
Thank you so much, Mari. I'm actually going to allow the presenters to, since everybody has introduced themselves already, so we're going to go with Harshil and then with Marcelo. But before we do that, we wanted to acknowledge that we have a few more people who were able to join us, and I wanted Mahesh to give a little introduction of himself, the company, and where you're based. And yes, and we also have Ilkem, who is here, and we have Haruko and Kwasi, who just came also. And I know Deji is somewhere around, so if he comes in, I'll ask him to also introduce himself. Maybe, Alexis, you can go get Deji. So I'll just give you the microphone, and you can just quickly introduce yourselves. We did that earlier in the morning. So.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mahesh Joshibatla, Chief Executive Officer of Bakresa Group. Core activity is milling wheat grain into wheat flour and supplying to bakeries, biscuit companies, and confectionery manufacturers. And we are a Pan-African group. We have operations in Malawi, Mozambique, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and going into other African countries as well.
Good morning. My name is Deji Akinyoju from Nigeria. I run a company called Food Concepts. We operate QSR brands, a brand called Chicken Republic. We also run a bakery brand called Butterfield. We recently integrated into a farming business, and I'll tell you a bit about it tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ikem Emelieze. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for InterSwitch Limited. We're a payment processing company in Nigeria. We're currently looking to expand across Africa as well. We provide all the ATM connectivity for the banks in Nigeria, as well as have our own local card scheme called Verve, which competes with Visa and MasterCard. I'll give you more information tomorrow on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And here at the Japanese table, Haruko-san.
Good morning. I'm Haruko Yahagi, NWeb Company Limited, business overseas business operation. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kazi Mohammad Mesbah Rahman, System Manager of NWeb Company Limited. I'm looking after the technology matters of this company and working in East Asian region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome. Before we start, I wanted to just let you know that we were going to have Octavio from Urbi, but he had a sudden family emergency and he just couldn't join us. But I think that we'll have a very interesting presentation in an area that IFC is really looking at as a strategic for growth. And that is because low-income housing, affordability, having financing for housing is an important part of what the base of the pyramid needs. I mean, shelter is one of the basic needs, and yet is one of the hardest ones to do because of land issues and because most low-income people can't get financing. And it's very interesting that for two countries that we work in Mexico and Brazil, the government has very unique policies to help people be able to buy their first home. In Brazil, we have Minha Casa, Minha Vida, which means my house, my life. And in Mexico, they actually have very interesting savings programs that most people who have a salary are able to put aside 5% of their salary and do a savings program that the government then kind of guarantees certain payments. And it has really become a key reason, a key driver for the housing construction market in Mexico and for Brazil. So government policies are very important, and as IFC, we have the ability to go to different places and say, well, look, in this country this worked, you know, maybe in your country you should think about it. So it's very important for us to look at models that work. And of course, we will start today in India, where quite a lot of housing finance is taking place. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but it's a really booming area. It's huge demand, obviously. So we're going to start with Harshil, who'll talk about that, and then we'll have Marcelo talk about the Brookfield experience in Brazil. And I will come back at the end for the Q&A so that the presenters can do the job better, you know. And so I would invite Harshil to give his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eriko. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
And well, no meetings are complete if you don't have PowerPoints. So I'm taking the privilege of doing the first PowerPoint presentation. And over the years, I've also learned that, you know, PowerPoint sometimes gets too much onto you. Second thing I've learned is at what time is your presentation? And thank God mine is before lunch, right? I've divided my presentation in two parts as a learning. So what I'm going to do is, first I will share an EV with you. This EV will basically tell you what we are, what do we do, what are the challenges, and of course, it has the famous case study which appeared in the Economic Times in India, which was written by Tom. So it's also a compliment for IFC. Our famous customer, Ram Pyari, she appears in the EV and she appeared in Tom's article in the Economic Times. So, and after that, I will kind of take you through the presentation as to what were the challenges and how we continue to overcome, and then we see some more, and that's how we move on acquiring customers in the housing finance. So without taking much of your time, I will request the EV to.
Every child should have a safe, warm bed to sleep in at night. Every father wants his children to grow up in a secure and stable environment. Every wife wants a place that she can nurture as a home. But for many Indians, this still remains a distant dream. With increasing property rates, many cannot afford to buy a house and are forced to live in rented houses. Thus, they have to change homes often. The sad truth remains that most Indians cannot get a housing loan on fair terms even today. One man realized that a home is a critical element in building an identity and confidence in every person. Shri Rajesh Kumar Vadhavan made it his mission to enable access to affordable housing finance, and following on the road paved by his father, Shri Kapil Vadhavan wanted to create an entity that would strive towards this access. Thus, Aadhar was born, a joint venture between DHFL, DHFL Vysya and IFC. But what is Aadhar? With the aim to facilitate affordable housing, Aadhar is a seemingly simple initiative, but with challenging consequences. Focusing on 7 states, namely Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. Aadhar targets to service individuals whose monthly income ranges from a meager 5,000 rupees to 25,000 rupees. In its first year itself, Aadhar has set up 15 branches, has a presence in 41 locations, and has changed the lives of more than 1,400 customers. Aadhar aims to be a 1,000 crore company, spreading across 100 locations, and aims to touch at least 15,000 lives. Making a difference to so many lives is not easy, but we can achieve it as a team. But no achievement is without a fair amount of challenges. The biggest challenge is that at Aadhar, we are not dealing with a financial savvy customer. The customers at times do not have a formal address, salary slips, or KYC documentation. Moreover, There is a high demand but not enough supply, as housing in the range of 7 to 12 lakhs is not readily available. But these challenges won't deter us. Rampyari Bai Rotle, a widow, has been working as a matron in a government hospital for the last 20 years. Living in a hospital outhouse, her dream was to have a home of her own. But despite efforts for a housing loan, she was turned down by banks and finance companies. That's when Aadhar stepped in, processed her loan application and disbursed a loan of 4.97 lakh rupees. She will pay back the loan through monthly EMIs. She now proudly says she was able to build her dream on her own 2 feet. Aadhar gave her the confidence and support. There is no bigger reward for us than a happy customer. No challenge is big enough for us. We have embarked on a mission to turn dreams into a reality. As our chairman, Shri Kapil Wadhavan believes, vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is passing the time. Action with vision is making a positive difference. Let us together become a part in the lives of these families, building their homes. This can only be possible if each of us play our role in achieving our targets. Together, we can make it possible.
Thank you. I hope that would have given you a brief introduction of what we are and what our objective is. Over the next 21 long slides, I will take you through some of the challenges and what it means for us. We have already covered this. The aspect of this is it is backed by DHFL, which has been in this business for over 27 years of providing housing loans to small and middle income segment. It is the 4th largest housing finance company in the country. As far as Aadhar is concerned, we are a registered housing finance company in India and regulated by National Housing Bank under the Reserve Bank of India, which is the regulator as far as the banking and finance is concerned. To tell you something about our group, DHFL Group is the 3rd largest housing finance company with a loan book size of $3.6 billion, with a network of more than 437 locations, with 80% of them in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. These are the cities which are not your metropolitan cities. These are the lower end of the cities. Now, again, coming back to Toshi-san's first slide about CK Prahlad, the bottom of pyramid, it very categorically says here, if you see, if the price of a unit is between $5,000 to $18,000, the estimated market size is a humongous $200 billion. This is the kind of market segment which we are talking about, which lies at the BOP level. And that's where we are doing a part of it, both from a business perspective to run a sustainable, profitable business, and in the process, run a business which is inclusive, get this set of customers to take loans from an organized player and not get trapped by money lenders who charge what they call as they give you $1 in the morning and take $2 in the evening. Do your math and it will tell you how much the money lenders charge. Compared to that, these are the segment which is coming into the formal borrowing segment, and they are able to get loans at an affordable rates. And in the process, it helps us set up a sustainable, profitable business venture. Like I said, the total housing loan market in India is estimated at more than $100 billion. What gives us the opportunity is the low GDP to mortgage ratio. Even when we compare with countries like Thailand, we are below Thailand. Thailand is at about 9%, 10% GDP. We are at 6% of mortgage to GDP ratio, which means that we have huge potential to cover in this segment. From our perspective, we are present in the 7 states. Now, these states are very unique. Not just geographically, they are on the eastern side, but they are classified low-income states of India. These are the states where typically not any business venture would like to go, but that was IFC's precondition that if you want to do business, these are the segments you have to go. So we did the other way around. We started operations in these states where normally it would be in a phase 3 or a phase 4 of an expansion plan where somebody would go. From India who are here would know that Bihar would be perhaps the last place one would like to go. And we went about setting up our first branch in Bihar, and we have started our operations in the state of Bihar. Now, interestingly, these 7 states contribute 46% of the population. So it tells you the kind of business opportunity which lies, which brings along challenges galore along with that. What we also find that in this segment, getting customers to an organized credit continues to be a challenge, all right? And that's what we mentioned, and that's what you saw in the EV as well. So what has been our focus area? Our focus area has been customers in the low income segment who earn anywhere from $90 to $450 a month, who are salaried or run a small time business operation. Now this business could be as small as a grain merchant or a trader, or he would be running his own bicycle repairing shop, things like that. We offer loans up to $22,000, but not exceeding 80% of the cost of property, which means that there is a 20% equity coming in from the customer. We actively fund EWS, which means economically weaker section, and LIG, which is low income group. There are typically 3 income groups in the country: low income group, middle income group, and high income group. Now we are focused in the EWS, LIG, and sometimes on the border of LIG and MIG, which is a middle income group, depending on the loan quantum. And if you see on the left-hand side of the income pyramid, you have 83% of the people in this states earning below $300 a month, which again proves that there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which you need to tap upon. But as we started doing the business, we started facing challenges. And from a retail finance perspective, there are 4 major areas. One is the sales, second is the credit, third is the disbursements, and of course, when you lend, you need to collect. That's when the cycle is complete. How do you collect? And the operations of managing these customers. Now, how do I do a hyperlink from here? All right, I'll just go with this. Now, on the sales part, we face the challenges which were under-penetrated markets, attracting talent in terms of right set of people in those locations because these are smaller locations. How do you distribute your product, which means in a mortgage, in a home loan, you have land and you have construction. So it's just not about cutting checks, but it is also about appraising a property legally as well as technically. And the bigger challenge, of course, continues to be the limited supply of housing. So how did we overcome those? We set up a hub and spoke model, which means we have a branch, and then we go out up to, let's say, close to 100 miles and source business, which become our spokes. So the files are picked up and they are processed in the hubs. We have in those spokes a sales officer, sales team who are on a fixed plus variable. So they have a fixed income, and then depending on the loans they do, there is some amount of variable incentives they get, which incentivizes them to source more business for us. We also found that a lot of sales of houses in our segment happen to brokers. So we tied up those brokers to say that if you have a prospective client and need a loan, you refer those guys to us and we'll pay you back commission if the loan goes through. And very interestingly, our results in the first few months, we find in those locations, 50% of our business started coming in from the brokers, because brokers were able to say that loan is available, and if the loan goes through, not only gets a commission from us, but he gets the commission from the buyer and the seller sometimes if he's able to do the transaction. And in our estimate, they used to lose about 20% of the transactions because the buyer did not have access to funds. So this became a good tool for them, a good catalyst for them to get not only fee income, but also get their customers loan and close the transactions. On the credit side, insufficient KYC. KYC is know your customer. This is a regulatory requirement. There's a constant fight which goes on with our regulator because in our segment we face these challenges day in, day out, because these people do not have sufficient KYC documents. Because these are the customers who come from informal segment, a lot of cash transactions happen. They do not have necessary paperwork to support their businesses, and hence cash flow assessment becomes difficult. So we framed our own policy of how to ensure that they are KYC compliant. And we also came up with various brochures in local languages. The one you have on the top is in English, of course, but on the bottom is in a local language, it's in Hindi, which kind of educates them what are the documents they need to keep with them, what are the various reasons why you need to have these documents, which helped us in processing it faster, because the challenge is this is a volume game, you know. So you need to process loans faster so that you are sustainable. Then came the disbursement part. On a home loan, when you disperse, the key thing is to ensure the primary security is your land or the building. And in this segment, we used to face legal challenges. When I say legal challenges, you have to ascertain the flow of title of the land which has moved from the first owner to the second to the third, and so on and so forth. If he happens to be the fourth buyer or the third buyer, if he's the first buyer, it becomes easier. But if he's in the chain, because we have to legally track it back up to 30 years for the title flow. So that used to be a challenge in this segment. And then comes the property valuation, the property appraisal, which you do, because there is always a difference between what the documented value is and what the actual value is. And on the technical part, which is also fairly common in our segment, you have a small plot size and you are only allowed 60% of construction in that plot. Now in this segment, they can afford a small plot of land, but they would not want to leave out those 40% empty spaces. So these guys would go and construct 100% on their land, which brings in a challenge for us, because, you know, how do you manage the balance 40%? So those are the things you keep on coming up. Secondly, real estate in India is a state subject. So every state has a different laws regarding real estate. So some of them would say that if you are building under 200 meters, you don't need any approvals. And there would be some states which would insist on approvals. So you have to frame your policies keeping those local markets in mind. That's why we adapted region-specific policy guidelines, and we went about doing the market value funding, because your documented value would be less, because so there is lower stamp duty application. And so you would identify what would be the market value for that. Having said that, you disburse the check, on a month end, you are under pressure to go and do the disbursements, but then come the 10th of the month when you have to get the EMI, you have to get the collections back into the system. Poses another challenge for us: banking and the repayment awareness, prompt collection, and the cost of collection. When I say prompt collection, because if you have customer in a location which is not on an electronic payment mechanism, it can take you anywhere up to 12, 15, 17, 20 days to realize your funds. So how do you go about ensuring that your money comes back on time? Because if there is a default, you want to make sure that you are first in the line to get the money. You don't want to wait for 20 days to know the fate of the money. So what we started doing was, first is we came up with a welcome kit, which is a handy localized kit which tells them what their loan amount is. It tells them when the payment is due every month. It tells them what they need to do in an event they want to change their bank, or they want to change their checks which they give us, or in a situation if they want to come and pay cash to us, where they need to come and pay the cash. It explains them everything in a very local language. We also use technology. What we found in this segment, interestingly, is they use mobiles very well, and they use ATM cards very well. Besides, when you look at their bank statement, you will not find anything else. You would not find them writing too many checks. But invariably, you will find ATM transactions, which means that they know how to use ATMs. We also asked them, do you understand SMS? And they said, yes, we understand SMS. In the SMS, the lingo has to be local, but the numbers has to be English. We tried doing it completely lingo and they would not understand. They said your numbers has to be in English. So, these are the learnings. You ask those guys, how does it work? So we start sending them reminders through SMS. Okay, one revolution which has happened after the Green Revolution in India is this mobile revolution. Everybody has mobile, and everybody yaks their way throughout the day on phones. Or either they are on phones or they have earplugs plugged in. They know how to download songs. Let me tell you that, okay? Which I find completely opposite here in Tokyo. People are not hooked onto mobiles. That's a great thing. Anyway, that's an observation. But just on a sideline, I'm just going. 3 days back, I was in Hong Kong, and in the metro you travel, everybody is on mobiles, and either they are talking or listening to music. And in Tokyo Metro, I find most of them are either reading or taking a quick power nap, and not too much on phones. That's a very drastic difference I saw between the two. But coming back to this segment, we sent them 3 SMS reminders reminding them that their check is going to hit the bank. Please ensure you have enough balance. 2 days before, we said again, please ensure you have enough balance. And on the day of banking, we said, today we are banking. In India, we have very typical thing of post-dated checks. We hold back, we get the checks in advance, and every month we deposit this. In those locations which are ECS, which is electronic clearing services, we use the ECS facility, which means it gets debited electronically. Not a lot of locations where we service are ECS, but those are ECS, we do cover them under ECS. That's why where we are not able to do it, we have local collection set up, and that's where we set up the cash repayment at the branches. Because at the end of the day, it is important that you receive the payments from them on a regular basis, you know, and that's why it is important to give them as many outlets as possible so that they are able to, you know, pay back on time. Results of all these things in a short period of 14 months of our operations, 2,425 and counting. 79% of customers earn below $550 a month. 30% of them are self-employed. 23% of the loans are in rural areas. 40% of the customers pay through ECS of the total base, but those locations which are covered under ECS, electronic clearing, 93% of them are under ECS. Ticket size of $9,800. 29% of them prefer self-construction, which means they would have a small plot of land and they would do their own construction. 84% prefer individual units as against flats. Now, another reason could also be you have very limited supply of flats coming in this segment, so they prefer individual units. And at the same time, you know, to them, it gives a sense of owning a complete unit by itself rather than a part of a dwelling unit. And how did we achieve this? Through the operations in 7 states with 15 branches. And yes, Tom will be coming to you asking for more states, but with a condition that we'll continue to service this segment. We manage from a credit and a portfolio perspective, we manage a healthy profile mix of 69 are salaried, 31% are self-employed, 50%. And on the product mix, see, from when you build a portfolio, you want to ensure that from a risk guise, you know, it takes care of various aspects. So you have a 50%, which is a purchase of a flat or a dwelling unit, 30% self-construction, 13% is mortgage, loan against property. Now, this is a product which is targeted towards business people. They mortgage their house where they are staying, and against that, they take a loan which helps them enhance their business. From a business perspective, it's a high yield product. But we would, since the focus is on housing loans, we limit this up to 20%. We don't want to go beyond 20% and restrict it below 20. So we are at 13%. 4% of them are for home extension or a home improvement. Somebody needs repairs, or, you know, son is getting married and he needs a room on the top of the terrace, so he would need for home extension. 1,000 loans are through ECS, balanced through post-dated checks. This is some of the customers. I'll not take much of this time on this. This is how his earlier house is. This is how his new house looks like. You know, he earns, his income is about $500, has taken a loan of $21,000. Some of the challenges are you have a low developer or a DED, which is a development authority activity which impacts the housing availability. Like I said, proper legal chain documents continues to be a challenge. You have field investigation, legal and technical evaluation charges, because as you go out in the spokes, the cost of servicing, the operational costs are higher. The loan size is smaller, and these are the fixed charges. You know, even if it were a $20,000 loan, the charge would be the same. So we continue to face challenges on the high operational costs. Along with that, you have a high borrowing cost. So our lending rates typically are higher than what you would find for any other bank or a lending institution. But the other side of it is we are a focused housing finance in this segment. which helps us get customers on a regular basis. And then there is a strong referral which happens. If somebody has got a loan, he would go and tell 5 others in his own company, in his own. These are employees who are working in state government. So some of our customers are drivers in State Road Transport Corporation. So during lunch break, or a smoke break, he would say that, look, I got a loan from these guys, and we do awareness camps in those locations. So that's it as far as we are concerned about some of housing finance. These are the units which you are looking at. Thank you very much for your time. I think there would be.
Thank you so much, Harshil. This is wonderful. Yes. I'm going to wait until the end of Marcelo's presentation for the Q&A, just so that, because otherwise we'll be running late. So thank you. And by the way, during lunch, etc., you can always find Harshil and ask him direct questions. I think it's a very interesting model. And we have a lot to learn from the Indian model to other countries. Thank you so much, Marcelo. Go ahead.
Good morning for all. First of all, I want to introduce you Brookfield Incorporações. Brookfield Incorporações is the integration of 3 companies with a proven track record in the real estate market. Until 2009, given to the business environment in Brazil, Brookfield Incorporações investment history and strategy had always been targeted to upper income and middle class. Today, the affordable house segment accounts for up to 20% of our potential sales value in the portfolio and over 60% of new clients. Since 1994, the changes in Brazil's economy, with the control of inflation and better income distribution, brought new customers to our real estate sector. Under these conditions, the main drivers that led the company to invest in the affordable housing segment is the lack of estimated 7 million units and the decision by the federal government to promote a program entitled Minha Casa Minha Vida, as Eriko said. That means My House, My Life. This program's goals is to deliver adequate housing for 3 million of Brazilian families who live in suboptimal conditions and are not able to obtain credit from regular banks and therefore are excluded from the real estate market. Talking about our results to date, in this segment, Brookfield delivered more than 9,000 affordable housing units to low-income customers until the end of 2011, with an average annual revenue growth of 75% since 2008, an average net margin of 17%, and an average internal rate of return of 117% for projects delivered in 2011. The PSV, potential sales value, of running projects is around $600 million and comprise more than 15,000 units today. Besides bringing portfolio diversification, working with this kind of inclusive business also gives the company new competitive advantages. These new developments bring companies positive exposition to the communities where we work. Due to the fact of we have to implement specific conditions of infrastructure in these new projects, relationships with other stakeholders are also strengthened, such as City Hall's Department and Caixa Econômica Federal, the federal bank in charge of Minha Casa Minha Vida project, benefiting all the other segments we develop. Next, please. When we describe our inclusive business model, it's important to say that our new developments always come with complete infrastructure. Distribution of potable water system and sewage treatment plant are built whenever the communities receiving our real estate projects do not have adequate systems. I should say that this is part of our partnership with IFC. When Terry was telling us about this process with IFC and the changing in the company, when we first met the IFC's people, we bring to present a development we have in Goiânia, Jardins do Cerrado, and to this development, according to the municipal regulations, we had septic tanks to deliver the sewage of the houses. And the environmental people from IFC said, no, we cannot afford, we cannot work with this kind of process because we have more than almost 2,000 units and you contaminate the soil and the water. And this will be a very problem and we cannot work with this situation like this. So at this, we were on the beginning of the new developments to this low-income affordable house. And we changed our perspectives, we changed our projects, and because of this, we today have this kind of process. All the projects, all the developments came with the entire facilities in terms of sanitation, in terms of water systems. In 2008, we decided to invest in this Jardins do Cerrado project, and there we delivered almost 2,000 units, 1.8 thousand units we delivered last year, and we have now under construction around 1.6 thousand units. And in this chart, we can see how are the families, how are the people we are serving with these projects. Around 55% makes up to $750 per month. 45% makes from 750 to 1.5 thousand US dollars per month. These people, most of them are unemployed or self-employed people and have low level of schooling. Elementary school, it goes up to 41%, and higher education, only 3% of the total population. Next, please. Oh, thank you. Yes. Talking about our marketing strategy, we should say that all this process started with a program Minha Casa Minha Vida in 2009, and as we decided to go to this segment, we made the partnership with IFC. We started the process to be clients, and we at that time in 2010 we could visit another client from IFC, Vinte in Mexico. That was a good opportunity to us to see this kind of development. Mexicans are well developed in this sector than Brazilians, and it was a very good opportunity to visit the Vinte developments. And some of the ideas we implemented in Brookfield, we brought from this visit in Mexico, such as marketing strategy. We create a kind of movement. We call it My Sweet Home. And in this case, we begin this strategy that aims not only to increase sales, but also that plays an important role in education in those households, launching in the neighborhood community the movement, in Portuguese, Meu Doce Lar, in English, My Sweet Home. Through this movement, Brookfield provides information and educate the population on how they can benefit from the Minha Casa Minha Vida program, because there is a lack of information in this process. By working with the community, we reach a new customer base and understand their specific needs. The Minha Casa Minha Vida program, more than the construction and delivery of new homes, involves efforts of integration, education, and income generation targeting the families of low-income segment. Brookfield has developed, in partnership with federal and local governments, social works with households that will receive the units. The action are aimed to prepare the future homeowners for life in condominium. Most of these people come from our outskirts of the cities, came from slums, came from suboptimal conditions of living, and we should prepare them to live with a neighborhood, to live in a condominium, as we deliver some flats, some apartments, buildings, and they have to live together. They have to take responsibility of take care about their properties. Furthermore, the structure built to support our construction sites is standardized, so with minimal adjustments, it can be transformed in the community center by the end of the construction. In our first delivered experience, this center offers professional courses, sport courts, and playgrounds. Thinking of the digital inclusion of the population, a computer center was built in partnership with Banco do Brasil, a federal banking, the biggest bank in Brazil is a federal bank, and they have a foundation, and with them we create a cell of with computers to promote developing these people, mainly young people. Brookfield maintains the Brookfield Institute, a non-profit organization created to consolidate our investment in social and environmental program that contribute to sustainable development in the regions in which we are present. In some cases, we use the Brookfield Institute to make partnerships related to the projects with other non-governmental organizations and governmental, such as this I told you. This is a thing that wasn't in our budget, or wasn't in our perspective, wasn't our project. Just an idea, as we have to prepare some constructions to be part of our organization construction site. We create a model that at the end of process, instead of demolish these facilities, we adjust and deliver it to the community. Normally we are using public areas. Each development has public areas, and in partnership with the municipality, we construct our preliminary facilities, and then we deliver it instead of demolished. We deliver it to the community. What is our approach to this affordable housing? The segment of affordable housing in our company is part of our business and of our strategy. But it's important to restate that the government plays a major role on it, since the subsidy program represents access to credit for our customer from the base of the pyramid. We could not deliver the number of units we are delivering without this program. The main question is the funding to support it. Our development in this segment occur in partnership with the government, which should provide also school, health, healthcare, and public transportation. This program in Brazil has three levels. The first, lowest level, is focused on families that makes up to $800 per month. In this case, the government buy from the private sector the houses and rent this house for 10 years in a 10 years contract to these families. And the family will pay 10% of their total income monthly until the end of the contract in 10 years. If they pay correctly, at the end of process, they own the house. In this case, in average, the subsidy represents 80% of the total cost. Just to give you information, today we are selling a house in this level for around $35,000 per unit, with the lot, with the infrastructure, with the construction, with projects given by the private sector. In the second level, it's a market solution level, but with subsidy. The government gives to the owners, give to the families up to 23,000 reais, that means around $12,000. And in this case, family goes to the market and buy the house they choose and use this subsidy to pay part of the cost. In average, this house represents around 50,000 reais, and besides the subsidy, they receive special conditions to contract the mortgage. The mortgage covers up to 90% of the total cost, and the subsidy normally pays the difference. These special conditions in mortgage has interest rates on average 2% less than the regular basis. Today in Brazil, family from medium class can contract a mortgage with interest rates around 9%. In this case, goes to 6.5% per year. In the third level, the government only gives to the families special interest rates in federal banks, not subsidy, from families that makes from 3,000 reais to the 6 salaries to 10 salaries. 10 salaries means 3,000 reais, up to 3,000 US dollars. This is the third level of the program. The federal government, in this term of President Dilma, is planning to deliver 2 million. It was 1 million houses under President Lula. And in this term, from these 2 million houses, 1.2 million should be delivered in the first level. 600,000 units to the second level and 200,000 units to the third level. So, when talking about product development in this segment, we should have a specific approach. The low-income segment projects we use pre-developed architectural plans that complies with our accessibility requirement. This is a requirement to get the fund. Those projects should use specific construction technology that differs from other Brookfield products, aiming agility, low cost, and easy application. I was talking at the beginning of this meeting that normally people think that to construct in this segment is easy than in other current markets, in other current products. It's a false idea. To get success, to be profitable in this segment, it's more difficult because each minimal material, each minimal step multiplied by 2,000 units represents. So you should take care about the project, you should take care about the planning, should take care about logistics. It's very difficult to work, it's very specific, and you have to be very careful, and you have to have trained people to work with this kind of projects. This is part of our approach. Another thing here, when we look ahead and talk about our goals, challenges, and opportunities, as I told you, today we have under construction around 15,000 units, and we are planning to have at least 10,000 units of new launches of new developments per year. Last year we was the second company in terms of contracts with federal government. The federal government is have the goal to achieve 3 million houses in this segment until the end of 2014. The main challenges here, first of all, is to have skilled people in our construction sites. Brazil have watching a boom in our sector in the last 4 years, and besides the very hot real estate market, we have also some investments in infrastructure projects to World Cup, to Olympic Games. There are also many investments to oil industry, and we have a lack of workers in our construction sites. And this kind of things is changing our sector, because we are facing the necessity to improve new technologies, to use more equipment, to change the way we use to construct our projects. Another thing is, as we are talking about different regions, we are in 8 different metropolitan areas: São Paulo, Rio, Brasília, Midwestern states. It's very difficult to keep the control of these projects. You have to invest in our management. We have to invest in process. We are 2 years ago we implemented the SAP system, and this is a continuous process of knowledge transfer, incorporate knowledge to all the people we have in the company. And finally, we have to work, the private sector is working hard together with the people from government to keep the program on ongoing process, because annually you should guarantee that the budget, the federal budget, includes the money to support the development of the projects. Talking about the opportunities, the housing deficit in Brazil represents an opportunity, and this number of units is still to deliver in program. From these 3 million houses, they had contracted around 1.8 million. So until the end of 2014, we have a lot of to do in this sector, in this segment. And we are, I should say that we are learning. We are still learning how to develop, how to create condition to do and to go in this specific market. But I'm very excited with this, and I think that more than profitability, more than a specific segment in our business, it's very exciting to be part of the solution of housing problem in Brazil. I bring some pictures of our development to share with you. This is the first development we deliver in Goiânia, this 1,800 units. The buildings are with apartments of 42 square meters, two-bedroom apartments, 4 in the first level, 4 in the second level. They form specific condominiums. Each block represents a condominium with around 100 units per block. This is the facility we deliver using our preliminary construction, the support construction to the construction site. Another picture of the development. The installation of the computer lab in partnership with Banco Brasil. Another picture of the community center. The sanitation treatment facility, the sewage facility. And this is another development focusing on the second level. We try to create different types of units and put it together to create a kind of community, regular community, not this kind of developments where all the houses are equal, all the houses are the same. This we bring from Vinte. Another view of a condominium. This is for the second level. The first pictures I showed was first level development. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marcelo.